Shri Chaitanya Jaya
Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jnanam Shalakaya Chakshuramitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swatadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadhvitam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastite Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhi Vrindavaneshwari Vrishadhanu Suturu Pranamami Hari Pri Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Jagatitanam Pavanagya Vaishnavi Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristadhitanu Prabhupada Priya Shigiri Rajaya Swamini Subhakta Radharas Bihari Himmakti Deschatmadaya Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristadhitanu Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tinani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paschacharya Shitadina Mukham Karati Vachara Tangam Lingayati Guru Mukta Tamaham Nande Shri Guru Denataranam Hare Krishna. So we are back on our reading of Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 7, text 116. So we are discussing, or we are reading the Mayavad philosophy, and so what they say and how Shri Lord Chaitanya is refuting their philosophy. So he makes a statement, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu makes a statement. Shankaracharya, who is an incarnation of Lord Shiva, is faultless because he is a servant carrying out the orders of the Lord. But those who follow his Mayavad philosophy are doomed. They will lose all the advancement in spiritual knowledge. Araye shuni tarahai sarvanash. So what do they see? Text 115. So what do they say? One who considers the transcendental body of Lord Vishnu to be made of material nature, the greatest offender at the lotus feet of the Lord. There is no greater blasphemer against the Supreme Person Godhead. So the Mayavadis, they say that the transcendental body of Lord Vishnu is made of material nature. So we had read last week what they say on this. Now, what else do they say? Okay, now this is, I don't know who's saying that. Let's read and find out. I am in classroom right now. Okay, Hare Krishna. Ishvara Ishvavera Tatvayen Jvalita Jvalana Jivera Swarupa Spulingera Kana. The Lord is like a great blazing fire, and the living entities are like small sparks of that fire. All those sparks and a big fire are both fire, and both have the power to burn. The burning power of the fire and that of the spark are not the same. One should why should one artificially try to become like a big fire, although by constitution he's like a small spark? Okay, so let's go back to and see what's happening. This point is whether they spoke about the G, I can't remember. Anyway, I think this is the first in like to the G. I'm saying everything else is about the Lord, the body of the Lord. Yeah. So now the second point is about the G. So let's read. So the first point here is that if there is a big fire, both of them, whether big or small, both of them have power to burn. But the spark and the fire, they do not have the same potency. So why should one artificially try to become like a big fire, other by constitution he's like a small spark? It is due to ignorance. One should therefore understand that neither the Supreme Person Godhead nor the small spark-like living entities have anything to do with matter. But when the spiritual spark comes in contact with the material world, his fiery quality is extinguished. That is the position of the conditioned souls. Because they are in touch with the material world, the spiritual quality is almost dead. But because these spiritual sparks are all Krishna's parts and parcels, as the Lord states in the Bhagavad Gita, Namai Vamsha, they can revive the original position by getting free from material contact. This is pure philosophical understanding. In the Bhagavad Gita, the spiritual sparks are declared to be Sanatana. Therefore, the material energy Maya cannot affect their constitutional position. So what point did we read just now? We have to go step by step, so we are able to follow the discussion.
Mataji, here we are getting some insight into the nature of the jiva, because Mahaprabhu is explaining that how a jiva is like a spark, while the Supreme Lord is like a big fire. And when the spiritual spark or the jiva comes in contact with the material world, he loses his spiritual nature, or he loses touch with his spiritual nature, because he is small, unlike the big fire who can retain his spiritual nature even in this material world.
What is the most important point in this paragraph?
भगवान के पार्ट एंड पार्सल है, नमय वांशो जीवलोक के जीवभूत सनातन।
Therefore,
तो इसीलिए हम भी सनातन है, मतलब इटर्नल है। लेकिन भौतिक जगत में आके हम अपनी हम अपने मूल स्वरूप को भूल गए हैं।
That Maya cannot touch the constitutional position of the.
yes. Okay, please write this down. This is the most important point about the jiva. The jiva is spiritual by what?
Nature. By nature.
Yeah. By nature. His constitution is to be eternal. So eternal means it cannot change. But what happens to this Jeev?
When
His
he
nature gets
when he comes in contact with the material energy, he starts to forget his game. He starts to forget his constitutional position because he is marginal. So wherever he is pulled, that is the place he can get pulled. So if he is pulled more towards ignorance and passion, his touch with that material thing gets more intense, and as a result, he starts to forget his constitutional position or his connect with the Supreme Personality of God.
So I don't know whether all this was explained in this one paragraph, but Prabhupada is saying that
It's here, Mataji, because they are in touch with the material world, their spiritual quality is dead. And
yes,
since they are spark or part and parcel, they lose their original position. It is
yes,
here only.
okay. So so what happens? So I read it again. When the spiritual spark comes in touch with the material world, his fiery quality is extinguished. That is the position of the conditioned soul. Because they are in touch with the material world, their spiritual quality is almost dead. The spiritual quality is almost dead. But because the spiritual sparks are all Krishna's parts and parcels, they can revive their original position by getting free from material contact. So this is quite a serious situation. The Jeev is Sanatan by nature. And what is the meaning of Sanatan?
eternal.
No,
And what is the meaning of eternal?
no beginning, no end.
No beginning, no end. Exists forever.
Exists.
Exists forever, right? Exists forever. But right now, we are dying and taking rebirth. And why are we taking rebirth?
Because we
Mataji,
हमें
is it that
भौतिक भोगों की इच्छा के लिए
According to this paragraph, why are we
अच्छा
taking rebirth?
अच्छा
no, because we have the ability to revive our original position. So if we take rebirth, we also get a chance either to stay or go deepen into that side, or a chance to again revive our connection
Just,
with the
yeah,
Supreme
this is
Personality.
just a physical answer. Why is it that we are taking rebirth?
Because we have to burn our karmas we've accumulated, finish our prarabdha
हम
problem.
हम भगवान के अंश है भगवान कहते हैं ममई वांशो जीव लोके तो हम तो भगवान के अंश है ना पहले भौतिक
Because we
जगत
never
में
die. Because actually we never die.
हाँ,
The
सनातन है
soul can never die. Why are we taking rebirth again and again and again? Because we are eternal. We can't die. Makes sense to you?
Because we wanted to enjoy. That's why we came back to the material world.
But
Yeah.
Mataji, even if we are eternal, we can remain eternal along with the Lord also. No? For
Yeah.
that, to
We
remain
did not.
eternal,
We
it
had
is
a
not
privilege.
necessary to come to the material world.
So my question was, why is it that we are taking birth of the birth according to this paragraph? Because we
Because we
are
want to
eternal.
be in control. We want to
According,
enjoy.
no, no. according to this paragraph here, because we are eternal.
Eternal.
All right. That's why we continue to exist even when the body is dying, right? Matter is being discarded. Why? If I were matter, right? If I were matter, then I die, meaning I disappear. But no, I don't disappear. I take on another covering, right? Why is it that I'm taking on another covering? Because I'm eternal. If the soul was not eternal, it won't take birth again. That's logical, right? Anupama Madhvi, do you agree with this? All right. Why am I taking rebirth? Because I am eternal. Now, what shape the covering is, that's depending on our own desires. Because they are in touch with the material world, the spiritual quality is almost dead. Because they are in touch with, they meaning that's us, right? But because these spiritual sparks are Mamay Vamsha, they're part and parcel of Krishna, they can revive their original position by getting free from material contact. So it looks like the soul is dying. Because they're in touch with the material world, their spiritual quality is almost dead. It seems that the soul is dying. That's why there's so much confusion about who we are, what we are. Different people say different things. And here we are learning from the Vedic literature that actually the soul is eternal. Only body is looking different. I hope that is drawing a picture in your mind. This is pure philosophical understanding. In the Bhagavad Gita, the spiritual sparks are declared to be Sanatana, eternal. Therefore, the material energy, Maya, cannot affect their constitutional position. In the Bhagavad Gita, the spiritual sparks are declared to be Sanatana, eternal. Therefore, the material energy, Maya, cannot affect their constitutional position. What's the difference between what we've read now? Between the soul and the material body.
Material body dies and soul keeps on continuing its journey from one body to another. And that the Maya might affect our material body, but Maya cannot touch our soul.
Why?
Because we are part and parcel of the super soul.
And what is that? And what is that part and parcel?
We are Satchidanand.
That is Swabhav, the constitutional position. So Maya cannot change what you are. The spiritual sparks are declared to be Sanatana, and therefore material energy, Maya, cannot affect their constitutional position. What Maya can change and affect? I'm sorry, I'm going round and round the same point so that we remember. So what can Maya change?
The body.
Yeah. What body? How does it change the body?
Based on our desires and karma, we get another body.
Yeah, how does it change the body?
Good consciousness, better body. Bad consciousness, not so good.
So what does that mean? Good
Maya
body.
facilitates our desires.
Spiritual
Maya,
quality.
Maya can change the shape of your body. Maya cannot change the shape of your soul. So, right? You're able to understand this? Yeah, Prabhupada is saying that because we are spiritual sparks and eternal, meaning we have an eternal form, eternal shape, Maya cannot change this. That's Swabhav, that constitutional position. Maya cannot change that shape, but Maya can change the shape and forms of your body. Are you able to understand this? All right. Okay, so that was a lot in one paragraph. Someone may argue, why is there a need to create the spiritual sparks? The answer can be given in this way. Since the absolute person Godhead is omnipotent, he has both unlimited and limited potencies. That is the meaning of omnipotent. To be omnipotent, he must have not only unlimited potencies, but limited potencies also. Thus, to exhibit his omnipotence, he displays both. The living entities are endowed with limited potency, although they are part of the Lord. The Lord displays the spiritual world by his unlimited potencies, whereas his limited potencies, by his limited potencies, the material world is displayed. Okay, so why the question is asked, why create these spiritual sparks? According to this, why?
Omnipotent.
Hmm?
To show his omnipotence.
It is that the Lord is omnipotent, so he wanted to show his limited potency as well as his unlimited potency.
Yes. Can you give me a material example?
Yeah, so we are his limited potencies. And when he manifests as an avatar, he has, or he comes down himself, his potencies are unlimited.
And when I'm saying material example analogy,
Mataji, that example that Srila Prabhupada gives of a judge who has a lot of power and influence when he's sitting in the courtroom, but when he goes back home, he does not display that opulence. Rather, he becomes a horse for his son and plays around.
okay, so meaning he's like, yeah, that's an emotional, an emotional display of potency, right? Okay, you can see in our today's IT world, right? How they are creating big things and then they want everything become mini, right? Everything goes more and more mini, compact, isn't it? The IT world, they're doing this, right? More and more compact, And the more it's compact, the more expensive it becomes. Is it true?
Yes.
Right? So that's how the Supreme Lord is omnipotent. So should he remain only, like that supreme? So he's displaying his omnipotency also by the atomic. That's the meaning. So here the answer is given, since the absolute personality of Godhead is omnipotent. He has both unlimited and limited potencies. So why I took that example? Because it is inherent, even among Jeev in this world, to explore the, unlimited, like we want to go in the sky and reach the cosmos, or we want to go down, in the ocean and observe, the vast ocean. But most of us, we are just happy to be sitting in our small houses, right? This is as much knowledge as we want. You know, who among us say, okay, let me leave my house and let's take a spaceship and go, you know, and explore the cosmos. And if you have a child who says, you know, I want to become a, you know, like this divers, sea divers, and I want to explore the ocean down, the mother's heart is sinking, right? Whether you see the child back or not. Right? You say, no, no, better just sit at home, take a simple job, you come back home every day, right? It's nature, that the unlimited and then the limited. Okay. So to display, thus to exhibit his omnipotence, he displays both. The living entities are endowed with limited potency because they are part of the God. The Lord displays the spiritual world by his unlimited potencies, whereas by his limited potencies, the material world is displayed. So unlimited potency is the supreme, the spiritual world. Limited potency is the material world. In Bhagavad Gita 7.5, the Lord says, Apareyam itastvanyam prakritim vidhi me param. Jiv bhutam mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. Beside these inferior energies, O mighty arm Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mind, which comprises all living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. The Jiva Bhuta, the living entities, control this material world with their limited potencies. Generally, people are bewildered by the activities of scientists and technologists. Okay, see, with Prabhupada is speaking of scientists and technologists, and that's the example I took. Due to Maya, they think there is no need of God and they can do everything and anything, but actually they cannot. Since this cosmic manifestation is limited, their existence is also limited. Everything in this material world is limited. And for this reason, there is creation, sustainment, and dissolution. However, in the world of unlimited energy, the spiritual world, there is neither creation nor destruction. If this personality of Godhead didn't possess both limited and unlimited potencies, he cannot be called omnipotent. Yeah, I was looking for this verse and here it is. Anor aniyam mahato mahiyan. Anor aniyam mahato mahiyam. The Lord is greater than the greatest and smaller than the smallest. Anu, he is minute. He's more minute than the minutest, and he's greater than the greatest. If there were no one to control, there would be no meaning to the conception of the supreme controller, Ishvara. Just as there is no meaning to a king without his subjects. My God, just see Prabhupada is explaining why there has to be Vibhu and Anu, unlimited and limited. If all the subjects became king, there would be no distinction between the king and an ordinary citizen. Then, thus for the Lord to be the supreme controller, there must be a creation to control. The basic principle for the existence of the living entities is called Chidvilas or spiritual pleasure. The omnipotent Lord displays his pleasure potency, other living entities. The Lord is described in the Vedanta Sutra, Anand 1.112, as Ananda Chinmayo Bhaya Sat. He is by nature the reservoir of all pleasures, and because he wants to enjoy pleasure, there must be eternal energies to give him pleasure or supply him the impetus for pleasure. This is a perfect philosophical understanding of the absolute truth. Okay, what do we understand from this? Who will tell me?
There are 2 points here, Mataji. One point is like, just like how a king, in order to be considered a king, needs subjects. Similarly, for the Supreme Lord to be known as the Supreme Controller, Ishvara, he needs people to control. And therefore, there are jivas. That's one point. Another point is that he's the reservoir of pleasure, and he wants to enjoy pleasure. And therefore, to enjoy pleasure, there must be some energies to give him pleasure.
Yes. Or supply him the impetus for pleasure.
So, Mataji, that means we are basically a way like the Lord playing with puppets is something like that. Like we are like small puppets in his hands, and since he loves to, I mean, he gets pleasure with that. So we are a way to provide him, like as it says, impetus to give him the pleasure. Because
You know,
he derives pleasure from us as well. I mean, he does have a pleasure potency, I understand. And she is the final reservoir of all pleasures. But we, as minute, also provide some kind of impetus of pleasure to the Lord.
Yeah, just like all of you who are mothers, why do you have children? Why do you take the pain to have children? Okay. You said, my child will give me pleasure. That's why I want to give birth to the child. So that the child will give me pleasure. So where's that coming from? You know? That idea. Prabhupada speaks about that. So can we say that our child are just puppets to give me pleasure? Say we are only puppets to give pleasure to the Supreme Lord. Is that so? Would you agree to this? So we can't say that the Jeev are only puppets to give pleasure to the Lord. And puppets mean lifeless. Everybody knows, every parent knows how difficult it is to handle another being. Still, people get married and say, I want to have a child. Right? So if they feel that, you know, it's only bringing a puppet in this world, and then the Jeev will remain puppet forever, you know, everybody knows by the time the child is 5 years old, he's no longer a puppet, right? There are so many demands, and then he will grow up and more, then he's going so many heartbreaks, right? So Chit Vilas, that's for the Lord to be the supreme controller. There must be a creation to control. Basic principle for the existence of the living entities is called Chit Vilas, or spiritual pleasure. Omnipotent Lord displays his pleasure potency. Are the living entities. The Lord is described in Vedanta Sutra as Ananda Mayo Vyasa. Impetus for pleasure. So I have given, you know, this example of a parent to, even though it's like flatly written in philosophical terms here, right? It's just writing, but you know the emotion. You know, nowadays people have only one child or two children. But most of us who are here, who are little older, our parents had 5, 7, 8 children, 10 children, 13 children, right? They never hated anybody. Child. They brought up each child. So even though it sounds very dry philosophy, I mean, very like cut, and when you read it on paper, that we exist, just to give pleasure to the Supreme Lord. The Lord wants, is the Ishvara, he has to control. Because, here we are discussing all Sankhya philosophy, right? So Sankhya philosophy, that's why it fails. So when we are discussing Sankhya philosophy, then this is how it comes through. Because it's a philosophy, it's like, and Prabhupada is saying philosophy. He said a few times, right? This is the perfect philosophical understanding of the absolute truth. And in first paragraph also, it said that this is pure philosophical understanding. So there is this philosophy, meaning explaining what we are observing. This philosophy basically is an explanation of what we are seeing. But as bhaktas, we go beyond the thinking. Bhaktas means emotion. Here it's without emotion. But as soon as I say, why did I take this example? Because Prabhupada gives that example. So why did I take that? An emotional relationship, because immediately you can understand there's more to it than just a philosophical statement. Is it okay? Rashi, is it okay what I said? All right, Rashmi? Rashmi, is it all
Yes,
right?
Radha Mataji, you are
Mataji,
muted.
Mataji,
You're muted.
I'm struggling to understand this last bit. So I
You're
did not
muted,
understand.
Radha.
Yeah. Okay, Anupama Mishra. Is it okay what I said?
Yes, Mataji.
Right? It sounds quite brutal, right? When you read the philosophical statement,
Yes,
right?
yes.
But when we explain the way Prabhupada explains, right? He gave the very example that's why I said it. Then immediately our whole attitude, because now we are thinking more with our emotions. So Krishna is an emotional being. He's sentient. He's an emotional being. He's not only like a philosophy which is stuck, jnana. He's not just jnana. But because you're dealing with jnanis, so therefore you're speaking their language because they're understanding better. So that's why having only Mayavad philosophy is not very satisfying. And that's why after Shankaracharya came, the search continued until bhakti was again revived, and then people could breathe and be happy to be living Jeev, to be Jeev who have emotions. They are relaxed. Otherwise, kill all your emotions. In Mayavad philosophy, it is just kill all your emotions, kill all your desires. So therefore, people will become atheists. people will become haters of that absolute truth. That's what we call impersonalism. In your own family, in your own circle, if people don't deal with you in a personal, loving way, don't you suffer? Now just imagine if floating in the entire Indian subcontinent is only a philosophy of, you are just what? God is coming to, he's the Lord of the creation, he's the angel of the creation, and you exist to give him pleasure. All right? If that's the only philosophy.
Mataji, can I say something here right now? Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Mataji, but as per what at least what I've understood from past few classes is, Mayavad philosophy says that Jiva actually can become one with the Lord, because Mahaprabhu is trying, because Prakashanand Saraswati said, now you are a Narayan, right? So I think what I understood is this particular verse, Mahaprabhu is speaking, stating the difference between Jiva and the Lord, how the Lord is always the supreme and how Jiva is always subordinate. And Mayavad philosophy offers a lucrative thing that we can become Narayan himself. Is that correct understanding? Or
Yeah.
I got
Yes. And here, so that's what I'm saying. It's like what is being discussed here. So this is like philosophy. This is like because it's so much of this mind, this mental speculation. So therefore, it is spoken in this way. But I'm saying that as bhaktas, we are not just puppets for the Supreme Lord to play with.
So, Mataji, are you saying that we are, even though the Lord is Atma Ram, he is still desiring to have a relationship with the Jivatma?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But Devahuti brought it out immediately. Oh, so, the Lord is created the Jiv only for his pleasure. So I'm saying that this is a philosophical statement because he's dealing with Mayavadis. But as bhaktas, Prabhupada gives the immediate answer. You are father, mother, why do you have children? Meaning he has brought another dimension to it. And it's very troublesome to have children, right? 25% of creation is jiva who are rebellious, who don't want to be puppets in the hands of the Lord, right? So still he
No,
takes...
Mataji, the moment you gave this example of parent and children, I immediately kept quiet, because if you look from that dimension, well, yes,
Yeah.
the emotional part of it immediately comes to picture.
Yes.
Otherwise, this is very dry.
Yeah, correct. That's why Prabhupada gives this example, right? Why is it that God has so many, why does he expand? Because of the emotion that's involved. All right, I think the point is made. All right. Prabhupada is very, he's got everything, each and every point he's got, in a very practical way, right? Like experience, right? Not just a philosophy, it is the experience. Text 117. Jiva Tattva Shakti Krishna Tattva Shaktiman Gita Vishnu Puranadi Tahati Praman. The living entities are energies, not the energetic. The energetic is Krishna. This is very vividly described in the Bhagavad Gita, Vishnu Puran, and other Vedic literatures. As already explained, there are three prasthan on the path of advancement in spiritual knowledge, namely Nyaya Prasthan, Vedanta philosophy, Shruti Prasthan, the Upanishads and Vedic mantras, and Smriti Prasthan, the Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, Puranas, etc. Unfortunately, Mayavadi philosophers do not accept the Smriti Prasthan. Smriti refers to the conclusions drawn from the Vedic evidence. Sometimes Mayavadi philosophers do not accept the authority of Bhagavad Gita and the Puranas, and this is called Adra Kukutinya. So what do they accept? The logic of half a lion. See Adi Lila 5.176. If one believes in the Vedic literatures, one must accept all the Vedic literatures recognized by the great acharyas. But the Mayavadi philosophers accept only the Nyaya Prasthan and Shruti Prasthan, rejecting the Smriti Prasthan. Here, however, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cites evidence from the Gita, Vishnu Purana, etc., which are Smriti Prasthan. No one can avoid the personal Godhead in the statements of the Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic literatures, such are the Mahabharata and the Puranas. Lord Chaitanya therefore quotes a passage from the Bhagavad Gita 7.5. Okay, see, I read it again. Jeev Tattva Shakti Krishna Tattva Shaktiman. Jeev Tattva is what?
Energy, Shakti.
Energy. Krishna Tattva is what?
Energetic.
In Sanskrit?
Shaktiman and Shakti.
Shaktiman, okay? Gita Vishnu Purana Adi Tahate Praman, okay? So where do you find this statement? So like, I just spoke about how here it's written, you know, that, okay, there has to be you know, a creator. If you speak of creator, then there has to be creation and other subjects. Then there is sense to the meaning of creator. Otherwise, it's like a king without a kingdom. And if you have a supreme that he can control, right? And here now comes when I spoke like how Prabhupada gave that example about a person, why does he have children? So now, and I said these are more the emotional component to it. Now, what was the problem with all this Mayavad philosophy? Because they're accepting Nyaya. What is Nyaya?
Nyaya.
Logic.
Logic. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Prabhupada is dealing with, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is dealing with logicians. So therefore he uses logic. Right. So they use, so the living entities are energies, not the energetic. The energetic is Krishna. This is very vividly described in the Bhagavad Gita, Vishnu Puran, and other Vedic literature. Now Prabhupada is explaining. So there are three prasthan on the path of advancement of spiritual knowledge. Nyaya, that is Vedanta philosophy. Shruti, the Upanishads and Vedic mantras. And then the Smriti Prasthan, which is Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, Puranas. All right. But the Mayavadi philosophers, they do not accept the Smriti. You know, this is a major problem. For whoever has tried to, came to Krishna consciousness by studying books, you really get confused. Because I was reading books, or how I came to Krishna consciousness, because I was just reading books. This book, that book, it's just by my good luck that I finally came to Prabhupada's books. But and then when you come to Prabhupada's books, do you know what tussle, what war, arguments you have to go through with other people? I'm speaking of those who are reading books, and mostly they're Mayavadis in your own family, relatives. Everything is, they like Bhagavad Gita, but they think Mahabharata, Puranas are for children, you know. And here we are, Prabhupada really, because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is re-establishing the position of the Puranas. You know, anywhere you dare take speak of Purana, at least in myself, if you speak of Purana, immediately, oh, Purana for women and children. Major arguments and fights. I say, really? Did you read Bhagavatam? Have you read Bhagavatam? Is it easy to understand Bhagavatam? No philosophy, just stories. Right? So here, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is bringing back confidence and faith in the Shruti, in the Smriti. Smriti Prasthan. Smriti refers to the conclusions drawn from the Vedic evidence. Sometimes Mayavadi philosophers do not accept the authority of the Bhagavad Gita and the Puranas. So sometimes, Prabhupada is saying. And this is also meaning that you accept some Vedic literatures, but you don't accept the other Vedic literatures. So meaning you, whatever you like, you take. So what do they accept? Nyaya Prasthan and Shruti Prasthan. What is Shruti Prasthan? Upanishads. Upanishads and the Vedic mantras. But they don't accept, so even Bhagavad Gita looks like Vishnu Puran and Mahabharata. So if you go out and you're trying to preach to somebody and they throw away your at least I haven't met many people who throw away Bhagavad Gita among the Hindus, but definitely Mahabharata they will throw away, and the Puranas. How are you going to discuss with them? Because you have to quote, if you are to preach and convince some people, you have to quote from somewhere, but they have rejected the Smritis, meaning even Bhagavad Gita, then the Puranas and Mahabharata. How are you going to meet them and discuss with them? Right? So this is a major, major problem. Just like when Prabhupada went to the West, did they know about Bhagavad Gita? Could Prabhupada quote from Bhagavad Gita and preach? What is the method that Prabhupada employed when he went to the West? Which prasthan did he use?
Smriti.
Smriti? Which method did he use?
Holy names.
Nyaya Prasthan.
What?
Logic, Mataji, logic.
Logic. Shikala, what did he use?
Nyaya Prasthan.
Anupama Madhavi, what did he use?
Mataji, I think he started with Kirtan and that is what attracted everything. I don't know whether it belongs to anything.
Mataji, Prashad and Kirtan.
Which prasthan did he use? Nyaya.
Vedanta.
Yes, he cleared their consciousness through chanting the holy name and prasadam distribution. Now we know when Prabhupada chanted, many people became attracted, right? Many people became attracted and they followed him to his apartment and he sat down. When he started to speak, all those who participated in the kirtan, most of them left. Right? They got up and left. They're not interested to hear the philosophy. Right? Those who stayed back, Prabhupada used Nyaya. So all of you, if you haven't done it already, please get a copy of Science of Self-Realization. All right? This book is just logic. So you'll see how Prabhupada is preaching. Hi. And when they were ready to accept, then he's quoting Bhagavad Gita. Open, even if he's speaking from Bhagavad Gita, but because there's no faith in Bhagavad Gita. So how will he teach? So he employed Nyaya. Described here the complete are Nyaya, Shruti, and Smriti. All three are required. Okay, now Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu now is speaking from Bhagavad Gita. Apareyam itastvanyam prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam dhyayate jagat. Beside these inferior energies, O mighty Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mind, which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is explained that the 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, constitute the gross energy of the absolute truth. And that there are also 3 subtle energies, namely the mind, intelligence, and false ego, or identification with the phenomenal world. Thus, the entire cosmic manifestation is divided into 8 energies, all of which are inferior. As explained in the Bhagavad Gita, Mama Maya Duratyaya, the inferior energy known as Maya is so strong that although the living entity does not belong to this energy due to the superior strength of the inferior energy, the living entity, Jiva Bhuta, forgets his real position and identifies with it. Krishna says distinct that beyond the material energy, there is a superior energy which is known as the Jiva Bhuta, or living entities. When in contact with the material energy, this superior energy conducts all the activities of the entire material phenomenon world. When in contact with the material energy, this superior energy conducts all the activities of the entire material world. It's phenomenal. What does that mean now?
The power of the material energy.
Yes. So what is the power of the material energy?
It is super powerful. It can
And what
even makes the superior energy forget its real position. It is so powerful, and it can make the superior energy start to work like inferior, like it itself, if it starts to influence the superior energy. So the superior energy also can't stay superior for a long time if it indulges into the material activities. And finally, it becomes more like a matter because it starts to forget its constitutional position with the Supreme Lord.
And what more?
ये सुपीरियर शक्ति इस भौतिक जगत में आके संचालन करती है.
What's that?
वो सुपीरियर शक्ति भौतिक जगत में आके अपना मतलब संचालन रूल करती है,
Yeah.
संचालन करती है.
What is sanchalan?
See, the material energy, it is inferior. All right? Material energy is inferior, but it is so strong that it covers the superior energy. Okay, the jiva. But then, who rules this matter?
The Supreme Lord. No, the living entities, they
Yeah.
exploit. They exploit.
Yes, the jiva, because he's superior, he's able to make that matter move. Because material nature is just dumb and dull. But it has the power to cover the jiva, but it is inert. It cannot do anything. It's just the only thing it's doing, it is covering the jiva. But because the jiva is a superior energy, therefore it moves matter. Very, very philosophical what Prabhupada is explaining here. Very difficult to understand also. The supreme cause is Krishna, Janmani Asya Yattaha, who is the origin of all energies, which work variously. The Supreme Person Godhead has both inferior and superior energies, and the difference between them is that the superior energy is factual, whereas the inferior energy is a reflection of the superior. A reflection of the sun in a mirror or on water appears to be the sun, but is not. Similarly, the material world is but a reflection of the spiritual world. Although it appears to be factual, it is not. It is only a temporary reflection, whereas the spiritual world is a factual reality. The material world with its gross and subtle forms is merely a reflection of the spiritual world. So now again, so how this material world is working? So the supreme cause of both material and spiritual energies is Krishna himself. So superior is factual and inferior energy is what?
Temporary. Reflection.
Of what?
Reflection of the superior energy.
Okay. So this inferior energy is a reflection of the superior energy of the Supreme Lord, that is the spiritual world. It appears to be
Factual, but it is not.
Factual. The material world appears to be factual. Like our body appears to be factual. Our bodies are moving only because the superior energy is moving that inferior matter. All right? Material energy is so powerful, it has covered the spiritual body. All right? But it is the spiritual body that is moving that material body. And the material body appears to be factual. But very soon we find that the material body is not factual because the body becomes old, diseased, and dies. That's why it is not factual. So similarly, the material world is but a reflection of the spiritual world. Although it appears to be factual, it is not. It is only a temporary reflection, whereas the spiritual world is a factual reality. The material world with its gross and subtle forms is merely a reflection of the spiritual world. The living entity is not a product of the material energy. His spiritual energy, but in contact with the matter, he forgets his identity. Thus, the living entity identifies himself with matter and enthusiastically engages in material activities in the guises of a technologist, scientist, philosopher, etc. He doesn't know that he's not at all a material product, but is spiritual. His real identity thus being lost. He struggles very hard in the material world. And the Hare Krishna movement or Krishna consciousness movement is trying to revive his original consciousness. His activities in manufacturing big skyscrapers are evidence of intelligence. But this kind of intelligence is not at all advanced. He should know that his only real concern is how to get free from the material contact. For by absorbing the mind's material activities, he takes material bodies again and again, and although he falsely claims to be very intelligent in material consciousness, is not at all intelligence. When we speak about the Krishna consciousness movement, which is meant to make people intelligent, the conditioned living entity therefore misunderstands it. He's so engrossed in the material concept of life that he doesn't think there can be any activities which are actually based on intelligence beyond the constructions of skyscrapers and big roads and the manufacturing of cars. This is proof of Maya Paharita Jnana, or loss of all intelligence, due to the influence of Maya. When a living entity is free from such misconceptions, he's called liberated. When one is actually liberated, he can no longer identify with the material world. The symptom of mukti, liberation, is that one engages in spiritual activities instead of falsely engaging in material activities. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. Transcendental loving devotional service, the primary is the spiritual activity of the spirit soul. Mayavadi philosophers confuse such spiritual activity with material activity. But the Bhagavad Gita 14.26 confirms, Mam Shayogya Bhakti Yogena Sevate Sagunan Samatityaita Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. One who engages in spiritual activities of unalloyed devotional service, Avyabhicharini Bhakti, is immediately elevated to the transcendental platform and he is to be considered Brahma Bhuta, which indicates that he is no longer in the material world, but in the spiritual world. Devotional service is enlightenment or awakening when the living entity perfectly performs spiritual activities. Under the direction of the spiritual master, he becomes perfect in knowledge and understands that he is not God, but a servant of God. As explained in Chaitanya by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jivera Swarupai, Krishnera Nitya Das. The real identity of the living entity is that he is an eternal servant of the Supreme. Sisi Madhya 20.108. As long as one does not come to this conclusion, he must be in ignorance. That this is also confirmed by the Lord in Bhagavad Gita 7.19. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavam mam prapadyate samahatma sudurlabha. After many births of struggling for existence and cultivating knowledge, when one comes to the point of real knowledge, he surrenders unto me. Such an advanced Mahatma or great soul is very rarely to be seen. Thus, although the Mayavadi philosophers appear to be very much advanced in knowledge, they are not yet perfect. They come to the point of perfection when, to come to the point of perfection, they must voluntarily surrender to Krishna. Yeah, we have discussed so much on these points. Is it clear, this section? Clear? This two last paragraph. All right. So you can stop here and you continue next time. Hare Krishna. for everybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.